Welcome to Self-Critic Reviews, and today Self-Critic is going to review the World Chess Championship Cycle 2020. Without beating around the bush, let me explain how it works in layman's terms. The idea of the cycle is to determine the World Chess Champion, and by a long-term chess tradition, a champion is determined in a long match. One player has already qualified to play that match, and that person is the current champion, Magnus Carlsen. So, who's gonna be the challenger? That's essentially what the whole long cycle is supposed to determine. The simple and only direct qualification path to the match is through the Candidates Tournament, an 8-player double round robin. The tournament's winner is gonna be the challenger. Very simple. So, how does one qualify to the Candidates Tournament? Well, that's where the complexity starts. The three main paths are the World Cup, which is a knockout tournament with 128 participants, and 2 finalists qualify. FIDE Grand Prix, a series of knockout tournaments with each participant playing in 3 out of 4 events, and 2 players accumulating most points qualify. And FIDE Grand Swiss, a strong Swiss tournament with the top 100 players in the world and 40 wildcards. The winner qualifies. Just in case you don't know what a Swiss event is. A Swiss event is a type of tournament featuring a lot of players, where the pairings for every subsequent round are algorithmically calculated based on your seeded rating and the result that you already have in that tournament. Simple. So that's 5 players I just mentioned from the 3 qualification paths. Who are the other 3 players? Well, the first player is the loser of the previous match, in this case Fabiano Caruana. The second player qualifies by average rating. Very likely is going to be Din Liren, but it's not official yet. And the third player is the wild card by the organizers, with some strict limitations and stricter than before, I must say. Hope this was clear enough. The largest portion of professional chess players always hope to qualify for the World Cup because of the prize fund. And knockout tournaments are always exciting to watch. But in chess, knockout format is at its most volatile. See, the problem is that chess is a drawish game, and a match of 2 classical games, no matter who wins, is not enough to determine who's stronger and who deserves to advance further. A lot of the time, this mini-match between 2 strong players goes to rapid and blitz tiebreaks. And again, they are very exciting to watch, but it's a completely different form of chess, and the strongest classical chess players are not necessarily the best rapid and blitz players. The World Cup has served as a qualifier for a while now, and I think 1 knockout tournament to determine one of the participants, or even 2, is good. Good for the audience and good for the players. I do have a slight problem with the qualification to the World Cup though. I mean, I understand that the idea is to promote diversity and give everybody a chance to qualify. Africans, Europeans, Americans, Asians. But the thing is that some of these zonal tournaments are made in such a way that a lot of weak players can qualify directly to the World Cup by participating in a weak zonal. For example, let's go to the Wikipedia page. Look at the zonals. So all of these are zonals. And let's take this zonal for instance. Zonal 3.2. As you can see, a FIDE master from Bangladesh, Mohammad Fahad Rahman, qualified. And let's take a look at his FIDE card. So he's rated 2271. And now let's take a look at the tournament he qualified from. I mean, do you see this? The top seed is 2489. There are 40 players total, and he qualified on tie breaks as well. And there are a bunch of tournaments like this. The problem with this is not necessarily that they exist, that too, but okay. But because the whole Europe does not have zonal tournaments, in spite of having the higher number of strongest chess players. I mean, even the US Championship is the direct qualifier to the World Cup, which is actually a good thing. But Russian Championship, Ukrainian Championship, Polish Championship, etc. are not. Yeah, you could say that there are already 46 spots for Europeans, which is a lot, especially compared to the continental championships from America, Asia and Africa. 8, 10 and 2 spots respectively. So technically those zonals are an addition to those continental spots. Plus 11 for America, plus 10 for Asia, and plus 4 for Africa, which makes it 19, 20 and 6 respectively. But yeah, European players are actually that much stronger. It's true that India and China are on the rise, and a lot of those players deserve the qualifications as well. But a lot of the spots that went to some of these weaker players from zonals should have definitely gone to stronger players. And there are a lot to choose from. Now let's talk about FIDE Grand Prix. Before, it used to be a series of round-robin tournaments with a complex system to calculate points. Last cycle, it was a series of mini Swiss events with that same complex point system. And now, it is a series of knockout tournaments with a complex point system. Last cycle's Swiss Grand Prix was destroyed by the media for high amount of draws and boring games. But I guess I'm in the minority who liked the events. People definitely downplayed them and criticized them more than they deserve to be criticized. The current format isn't all that much better, because it's essentially a mini World Cup, and one knockout to determine 2 participants is plenty. I understand that the idea is that 4 tournaments minimize the risk of lottery and random winners, and the incentive to win classical games and not to go to tie breaks is a great innovation, but I'm afraid it's not enough. The challenger to the match is determined in a round-robin tournament, and ironically, there isn't a single round-robin tournament that is a direct qualifier to candidates. 2 knockouts, 1 Swiss. I mean, 5 knockouts, but you know. In my opinion, this should not be the case. I understand that the whole system of Grand Prix has been criticized for being clumsy and convoluted, which is technically true, but I didn't really think it's that much of a problem. However, if you're looking for suggestions to abolish this system, I think a great idea would be to somehow work with the organizers of these elite tournaments that are already being held, like Wijk aan Zee, Norway Chess, Gibraltar, Dortmund, Grand Chess Tour, etc, etc. And at a certain point, just hold one round-robin tournament with the winners of these tournaments and best performing players. Kinda like what they used to do in Bilbao, but they don't do that anymore for some reason. Obviously, the system needs refining and it has its own issues, but I think that it's a step in the right direction. Now, FIDE Grand Swiss. I'm extremely excited for this. An open tournament this strong, with so many top players, including Carlsen, and being a qualifier, has never been done before, at least not to my knowledge. And no matter what happens, I predict it to be the most exciting event of the year. Even more exciting than the World Cup. Huge props to Emil Sutovsky and the team for coming up with the idea and bringing it to life. I truly cannot wait for it. It's going to be amazing. But with that said, off the top of my head, I already envision a couple of problems. The participants are divided in 2 groups, qualifiers and wildcards. A lot of the qualifiers are truly strong players. 2800, 2700, 2600, and even 2500 players are very strong grandmasters that are not easy to beat. Some of the wildcards are strong as well, but there are a bunch of players that are just too weak for this tournament. What are 20, 22, 23 and 2400 players even doing in this tournament? The problem with this is that they can highly influence the results of this tournament, whether the players themselves want it or not. Some players will face the easier opposition, while others won't get the chance and will have to play strong grandmasters. And that's just not fair. I understand that the tie break will take this into account, and in a way that's good, but that's also bad, because I believe there should be a playoff for the first place. If there is a playoff in the World Chess Championship after a tie in the match, there should be a playoff in FIDE Grand Swiss. But I guess I can sort of understand where FIDE is coming from, but honestly, there is no excuse for not having a tiebreak in the candidates tournament. It's true that one of the most exciting candidates tournaments in recent memory, and not just candidates, chess tournaments period, was Carlsen's win in the candidates in 2013. For those who don't know, before the final round, Carlsen and Kramnik had equal amount of points. A draw for both players secured Carlsen a place in the candidates. And you know, making a draw for grandmasters of this caliber is not easy, but it should not be problematic in principle, if they really want to make a draw. So Vladimir Kramnik had a huge incentive to risk and play for a win, because he thought that Carlsen would definitely draw his game. What happened, however, was unbelievable. Both players, Carlsen and Kramnik, lost their games. And it was Kramnik's only loss in the event. So, in a dramatic turn of events, Carlsen qualified for the match. And the rest is history. But this isn't the rule. This is the exception. I mean, take a look at Candidates 2016. In the final round, with an equal score, Fabiano Caruana had to play for a win against Sergei Karyakin, because even though a draw would level them both in points, Karyakin would be the one to qualify, not Caruana. So instead of having a playoff like civilized people, which Sergei would have probably won, Caruana played for a win and lost. But he didn't even get the chance to have a playoff, and that's a shame. So I definitely envision people criticizing the lack of playoff in the Candidates tournament and FIDE Grand Swiss. And another point I'm on the fence about is only having one player qualify by rating. Since 2013, when the current system kinda stayed about the same, there have been 4 Candidates tournaments, and 2 of those were won by people who qualified by rating. Carlsen in 2013 and Caruana in 2018. One was won by a World Cup winner, and the other was won by the loser of the championship match. And historically, aside from Candidates 2016, rating qualifiers have done fairly well. And even though I understand the sporting reasons to minimize qualifying by doing nothing, ratings aren't there just for show. They do reflect chess players' strengths, contrary to what some people might think. But overall, I love the system. I think the champion should be determined in a match, and that the 100-year-old tradition should not be broken. Chess should not look at football or tennis to try to be like them. Chess is its own sport with its own traditions that should not cater to the fickle fans, randomize the outcome, and devalue the title of the world champion. It's very difficult to become a world champion, and that's exactly what makes the system beautiful. It's not fair and gives a lot of privilege to the champion, that's true, but the champion himself also had to go through trials and tribulations to become a champion. And chess as a sport should not change this tradition as long as classical chess exists. Because if classical chess goes out of fashion, then sure, you can do whatever you want. Chess will stop being chess and will become a show in that case, which is fine. But at least it will be separated from the history before it. And yeah, I'm aware that Carlsen himself wants a champion to be determined in a yearly knockout event. But yeah, I disagree with him. I don't think he realizes the historical repercussions it'll create, even if he knows chess history better than I do. Thanks for watching.
These are self-critic reviews on television and news. If this ain't your favorite artist, well, you're not getting amused. This is self-critic reviews.
If this gonna get different clues, or when if it's on YouTube, yeah, he is getting no views.
If you want some unbiased opinions, an analytic mind is worth billions. Yet he has been hiding his brilliance underneath this stifling diffidence. And if you don't like his opinions, go look for like-minded civilians to whine in the comment section and slap a dislike on his videos.